Hello, DJ Trickstar back again for another tutorial. This one follows the basics, the beginning basics video. So now you should have something like my screen now if you've done what I said about getting some audio tracks and laying some clips down to make a particular song. As you can see, I've renamed my tracks and also some scenes here just to show you how to do this. All you need to do is click on the track itself and then just press Control or Command R, and then you can name everything you want. So from here I've got drums, click noise, chords, synth lead, and atmosphere FX, and then down the side here when it comes to the layout of the song, I've got intro, verse, complete, as in the complete beat, the breakdown, and then an outro there as well. So very basic, very simple. Took me a few minutes just to get those things out of Ableton. It sounds kind of nice, so I thought I'd use it. And just sounds a little bit like this. So that's the intro. You press the scene there. And then when you want to, go into the first verse. And then the complete beat. This is going to add the synth lead now. Into a breakdown. Into the outro. So that is basically it. You should have something like that. You can press record now at the top, play the scenes in whichever order you like, and then when you stop recording you will have a song on arrangement view. But this tutorial is actually going to be a little bit about the audio effects that you can add to each of these tracks. Now I've got my headphones in today just to make the audio sound a little bit better for this tutorial, and you can find the audio effects just in the browser here. Click audio effects on the side and you'll see Ableton's got a lot of audio effects. Now you might not have as many as this if you don't have the full Ableton suite, but I'll just have a quick run through some of the important ones that you can use. Now the important thing with effects is if you come from a DJ sort of background, you may be used to people saying effects or people using effects, you know, for to change the song up a little bit, to really sort of enhance parts and just make things a bit different. Thing is with effects is not only do they do that, but also they also can help with mixing and mastering as well, actual tracks. So some of them might not have a very obvious sort of function when it comes to what you're listening to. So some of them are better suited for one or the other. For example, we've got an auto filter here. Now, auto filter is very similar to filters that you might see on DJ mixers and things like that. I'm going to drag all the audio effects that we're going to talk about here onto our master channel. You can drop them on any channel there, including send and reverb channels there. Sorry, send and return tracks there. And just to show you kind of like the effects. So I've dragged the auto filter onto the master track now. When I press play on the verse, auto filter, if I can sweep this frequency, it will sweep it just like a filter does. If I turn the resonance up, that will make it a little bit more obvious as well. So quite an obvious effect of what auto filter does. You can put that on any of the tracks. You can have a play around with all of the functions, the parameters that are on there as well. Don't forget to use that help view, the info view, just on the side if you want to know what any of it does. If you need different types of filters, that's all down here as well. So you've got high pass, low pass, band pass, that sort of thing as well. So you can use an auto filter subtly, although most of the time people are using it for a very dramatic effect. Auto pan is another one which you can use to a dramatic effect as well. Oh, didn't drop it in the right place. Drop it right at the top there for that master track. So this one will pan to the left and the right, as it says it on the tin basically. So if I press the amount, now it depends whether you've got headphones in or you're using your laptop. You might notice a very subtle difference though. It's going from left to the right. If I turn the phase down here, it will actually turn the volume up and down. Turn the rate up, and that's how you can kind of get a good effect out of it. Next one, beat repeat. This one automatically shuffles the beat, makes some random things happen. If you want to play with the parameters a little bit, it will do different things. Okay, now there's two audio effects here which I like to kind of use together. A lot of people do. You don't have to though. You've got amp, which you put in. Gives a simulation that you've basically plugged your output going into an amp, and you can change the amp as well. Start to get a bit heavy. I'll definitely say this one is definitely more suited for individual tracks as opposed to putting onto the master one. The other one that kind of goes with this is the cabinet as well. This emulates putting a microphone in front of a speaker, and you can choose which speaker, type of speaker, which microphone you're going to use, so on and so forth. So I like to use those two together. Compressor is very useful. Now, if you don't know what a compressor does, basically this is the threshold here. If the volume goes over this threshold, it will actually turn the volume down into a ratio of what it specifies there. So it's 2:1 at the moment. And if you imagine, if you're looking at a waveform of an audio track, if it looks very dynamic, like it's very like, whoa, there's big peaks and big troughs, and you want to sort of smoothen it down a little bit, that's when you use a compressor. So if I turn this threshold down a little bit, you'll actually see this is the effect it's having. Almost like someone is there turning the volume down very gently for me with the fader. That's what that orange sort of level is showing there. And you can change the output on the other side there. So you can still make it nice and loud, less dynamics, but still keep the loudness. There's plenty of tutorials on how to use compressors and things. I'll definitely get into looking at that before you start jumping in too much, because you can really, when you're playing with the dynamics of the songs, obviously a lot of people like think that louder is better. It's not necessarily louder. In fact, most of the times it's not. What you're trying to do is just make things perceived to be louder than they actually are. Now, EQ. Now, if you're a DJ, or if you used a DJ mixer, you might be used to the EQ3, which is typically what they have on DJ mixers. It's got a low, a mid, and a high. So if you need to turn down any of these frequencies, you can do that here. Or you can just cut them off as well using these switches on the bottom. There is also an EQ8, so instead of 3 bands, which is the low, mid and high, you've got up to 8 to choose from. When you load it in, it's got 4 already, but you can turn all 8 on, and you can choose where you want these bands to be as well, and how much of effect you want them to have. This is probably more useful for the mixing stage, making sure that each of your individual bits of audio will fit together. Filter delay, so a mixture between filter and delay really. Makes a delay noise, but then you've got these different filter bands you can use and play around with as well. Flanger you will also be familiar with. Very similar to a chorus effect, but probably a little bit more obvious sounding. There's a limiter if you want to limit the output. Simple knob, turn that down, turn it up, however you want, wherever you want the music to sort of go. Not the be-all and end-all of mastering though. Now there is a looper, which is very interesting. It kind of works like a loop pedal, like maybe like you've seen Ed Sheeran perform, where he taps a pedal and plays some audio on his guitar and it keeps going. You can do that like live in Ableton, even with this audio track now. I'll save this for another tutorial where I'll show you how to use it with individual tracks then. Multi-band dynamics. Now I think this is very useful when it comes to the mastering side of things. So when you've finished your track, as far as you're concerned, and you want to try and make it sound as best you can. Multi-band dynamics is probably your, within Ableton anyway, if you weren't using any other software, it's probably your first sort of thing you'd go to master your tracks. It shows you the different bands where the audio is coming from, and you can change a lot of effects, a lot of the how it outputs this way as well. Overdrive is very much a distortion effect. Phaser, similar to a flanger. A little bit more subtle than the flanger. Ping pong delay, a lot of people love this one. Nice little echo sound. Then you've got the reverb as well, so if you didn't want it into a return track, you can put it right there on your master track or any individual track if you want. Simple delay, so this is the basic delay. If you weren't using the ping pong delay or the filter delay, you'd probably want to use something like this. So it just takes a bit of audio, or takes the audio and plays back a little bit of it as well a bit later. That forms a delay. You can choose how much feedback there is as well, so how many times that sort of delay keeps bouncing back. Almost never ending now, 95%. And utility is very useful as well. Lots of people underestimate utility really, but putting utility there, you can see how your track is going to sound in mono using the width knob, or just listening to one side, left or right. You can phase out left or right as well. But a lot of people use it for the actual volume control there. So if you wanted to keep all of your volumes on your tracks at the same, so you weren't messing around with them all the time and just wanted to do your automation on the volume there, you've got it right here. So it's effectively like another volume control. That's what it does there. Very useful to have. Now, also, you'll notice here there's one called Audio Effect Rack. Now, this isn't a specific audio effect in itself. It's actually a mixture of the effects that we've maybe already gone through, or some of the ones that I sort of skipped over there. But you can make your own audio effects rack as well. But before I do that, if you notice these arrows next to these audio effects, click on them. It's got the presets for most of these as well. So if I chose auto filter again, instead of just dragging the auto filter down, you know, I can actually pick one of these presets. Eruption, that sounds cool. There you go. So it's already got everything preset there for me. And you can just work with that. But if you want to create your own audio effects as well, you can, audio effect racks, you can drag down, say, an auto filter. Let's put a flanger down there as well. What you do is just highlight both of them, maybe hold shift and click them both, and then just press Control or Command G, and it puts it all into an audio effect rack. Now the controls for the rack are here. This one here, you can assign knobs to be macros. So what I can do is right click on the frequency, map to macro 1. So there you go. If you had a controller, you can have with 8 knobs on it, you can control lots of different things. I'll also maybe control the on and off switch for the flanger with macro 2. So right now the device is off. As soon as I go about halfway, it should come on. So there you go, that's how you create your different audio effect racks, and there's a quick overview of some of the audio effects. Have a little play around, maybe have a play around with some of the ones I didn't mention as well, so you can get to grips with what they all do as well. Have a bit of fun, and we'll continue the tutorial soon.